That Jesus was named on the 8th day of his life is significant. One, it places him within the context of Jewish life and practice. The Brit Milah of a baby boy occurs on the 8th day when the child is circumcised and named, and this practice continues today in the Jewish community. But the larger implication of this practice is that it places Jesus squarely within the realm of human possibility, namely, that his reaching adulthood was not guaranteed. The practice of waiting to name the child has both theological significance and practical implications. And the practice of waiting is based on a belief from the ancient world that the parents would not speak the name in order to keep the angel of death from hearing it. The infant mortality rate in the ancient world across cultures was roughly 50%. That means half of all children born did not reach adulthood. There was a very high chance that your child would not survive long enough to be named, meaning that it was down to the flip of a coin whether God in the flesh would make it. He did make it, of course, and this whole line of thought might seem silly, but what has really stuck with me on this day is that when God entered humanity in the flesh of Christ, he most certainly did so without training wheels. His death on the cross shows us as much. When God became incarnate, he took on not just the flesh, but the dangers of the flesh. He took on mortality. In his vulnerability, he broke the laws of creation to enter into it, knowing that it was entirely possible that it all could have ended right there in the stable in Bethlehem. And he came to us anyway. Like all parents, God knew that his son might die, that Mary might die. And yet he came because, like all parents, he knew that whether he lives or whether he dies, the gift of a child is itself a most precious gift, no matter how long or short the life may be. We are very fortunate today that infant mortality rates have dramatically improved. It's still a heartbreaking number, and its rarity has intensified the emotional toll that it takes on parents and families. One way that the church has responded to this was in the 1928 prayer book, which included, for the first time, a prayer for the burial of a child. Until this point in time, burying children was so commonplace that no one thought it needed special consideration. But as infant mortality improved, the prayer was added to speak to the unique pastoral considerations of those who have lost a child. Another interesting tidbit is that the 1928 prayer book saw us add for the first time prayers for the dead, mostly in response to World War I and the flu pandemic of 1918. And the overwhelming sense of loss and grief that gripped the world and the church. But whether it's 1918 or the first century, humanity has walked along our path with death as a constant companion. And more than simply join us in that walk, Christ has entered into our life and died our death, so that by his death and resurrection we are freed from the fear of death. As scary as it might be to recognize our own mortality or the mortality of our loved ones, as troubling as it might be to know that the grave calls to us all, we have a God who knows his way out of the tomb. We can sleep in peace and awake in confidence that whatever befalls us, the gentle hand of the Savior waits to scoop us from the pit and place us at his right hand. And if, when life beats you down, you feel like those promises might not be true, remember that those gentle hands also bear scars.